From athletes to authors, entertainers to innovators, we connect with those who help shape our culture. Join us in revealing stories of their lives and backgrounds, their triumphs and tragedies that molded them into who they are today. Authentically off-script and personally illuminating, this is Audibles with Jason Scarborough. This week on Audibles, Marchant Kenny.
So your story starts in New Orleans, Louisiana. So how would you characterize growing up there in New Orleans?
Well, I always joke about New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, it's kind of its own country in some ways. I mean, with its history and culture. And growing up in New Orleans was very, very colorful and fun and vibrant. And it was the late 70s, early 80s, and it was New Orleans was the Big Easy for sure back then. So, and I felt it as a kid.
How would you describe your family growing up?
Well, my family life was an interesting one. It got well publicized when I was, in college here, and got to know a lot of people, got to know my story. And, the way I was raised, kind of tumultuous household. 8 years old, my mother, who had been a drug addict, when committed suicide when I was 8. So that was a rough start. And my dad, in the meantime, his day and night job had been with the mafia as a bounty hunter for them. And but we were tight, me and my dad. I wanted to be like him. He was my hero. But good on the outside, good to me, but on the inside, he just he had too much to deal with. And wound up going off to prison when I was 10 years old for counterfeit sting. And then, kind of put a dark shadow over my life early on, that's for sure. Mother suicide, dad, going off to prison. So at that point, when I was about 10 years old, went off to my grandmother's, and we were really poor, welfare, and just rough neighborhood out in greater New Orleans. And school and sports were kind of the last thing I was thinking about when I was about 10, 11, my dad in prison.
You were close to your dad. You talked about him. He was a consummate tough guy, I've heard you say. Air Force. He was a boxer when he wasn't a bounty hunter for the mafia. So he was your hero, consummate tough guy. He was Marchant Senior, wasn't he?
We're not a senior, junior, different middle name, but Moose, everybody called him. And I was Little Moose. I mean, you'd call me Little Moose right now if he was still around. That's what everybody called me, Little Moose.
Where'd that nickname come from?
I mean, it was just perfect fit for him. I really don't know where it came from. I mean, he was built like a husky, solid ex-pro boxer, and in the mafia too as a bounty hunter. And Moose, it kind of fit, if you ask me, for the ultimate tough guy. I mean, he looked the part too. He dressed kind of stylish. I mean, it in the household, as rough as it was growing up with what he was doing on the side, I felt like I had Burt Reynolds. He had this mustache in the house. I felt I had Magnum P.I. Tom Selleck in the house. So I always had he was my hero. So, but yeah, definitely when he went off to prison, that caused some tough times in my life, challenging, really life itself.
I heard that while your dad, or when he went to prison, there were some people that stepped in, some family friends initially stepped in before you went to live with your grandmother. And it was while you lived with your grandmother, your dad is jogging and tragedy strikes again. It's like at this point, it's like, man, can this kid catch a break? What do you remember about the night your grandmother got the call about your dad?
Well, to lead up to that, the most beautiful thing that I was holding on to really in life, I was an only child. Had nobody really lean a shoulder with, brother or sister. And holding on into life was that he sent me letters daily, weekly from prison. And he'd found God in prison. And he said his big goal for when he gets out of prison is for me and him to move to another state and get away from it all and start anew. It was just going to be me and him. And I was holding on for that because he was my hero. He was everything. And, one night, 12 years old at my grandmother's house, her and I just lived together. And phone rang late at night, about 10, 11 o'clock. And she gets up to get the call, and next thing I know, I just hear screaming from the other room, no, not Moose, no, and starts calling me over. I don't know what's going on, so I go to the phone and pick it up myself and talk to who was on the other line. It was administration from the prison, and to tell me that my dad had been jogging and had passed away from a massive heart attack while jogging. And you know, at that point, any hope that I kind of held on to, it was pretty much out the window. And in school and sports and being a good kid, really, discipline wasn't for me.
There's a lot of anger.
Lots.
A lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness, rightfully understood. I mean, it's hard to look back now at 8, 10, 12 years old. I know it's a broad question. I mean, how do you process that when you're 8, 10, 12 years old? I mean, how in the world do you process everything that's going on in your life at this point? I mean, how did you try to process it?
And at that point, you know, I had a grandma who was just in her 80s, a little old to take care of a teenage boy, who was unruly, and I took advantage of that. And so I literally, you'll see a word come up while I'm saying this, I gave up hope. I did, totally. I was running the streets, failed 7th grade, had no desire to go to high school, and no one was going to make me. And it was just like that. I had no discipline, and a school I was going to wasn't very good out in greater New Orleans, and I took advantage of that and skipped so much school that I lost count, and I got the mail, so it didn't come home for grandma to see. So, you know, I had no shining light at that point. Nobody, nothing. That really made me think that life is worth it. I mean, it was the pits. I was in the pits.
There is a turning point where things start to look upward just a little bit. If I remember the story correctly, there's more family friends that kind of step in while you're with your grandmother. And this is where Boys Hope enters onto the scene with you. Tell me the story of that. How did that come about with you getting into this program? And initially, you know, what were your thoughts about it? Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not fooling with that. Or was it like, look, you're hanging on to anything at this point?
Well, I was running the streets with the wrong crowd, but they were my crowd, and I was any 12-year-old, 13, but be 13 at that point. You run the streets, do whatever. It's hard. It's a hard life to give up, and but a family, the Howard family, who I'd known from a long time ago. They had 4 sons, and spent time at their house when I was in grammar school, when things were kind of normal as far as what mom and dad were around, were as normal as they could be. And when I'd hang out at their house all the time, and I had good grades. Shoot, I was scared to bring a bad grade to my dad, that's for sure. And but they found out that I was falling apart out in New Orleans area I was living in, and they stepped in and you know, heard that I failed 7th grade and said, no, Marchant's got a brighter future than that. This is a shame, and the Kenny family's letting this be. And so they stepped in and they told grandma and me about a place called Boys Hope, and you're doing this, or, well, basically you're doing this. And you know, when I heard of the place, read about it, thought about it, it was cool on the outside. I mean, the boys' home I was going to live in, there were 8 boys. There was an opening, so 7 at that time. And I came to the house. They had a nice house right around from Jesuit High School down in New Orleans. And, you know, it was like, wow, other boys are just kind of nonstop activity, you know. I always wanted brothers, you know, and so this could be a perfect opportunity. But there was a catch to it. And, you know, and the discipline thing, like I said, I didn't want that part, even though I saw this might be cool in some ways. But the catch to it and the discipline part was the home was run by a nun. And if you can imagine me at that point, unruly, just undisciplined, raw, the thought of a nun running my life, I basically said, I don't know if I want to do this, but the hand was forced. And the final step with Boys Hope, after you had to take IQ test, it's Boys Hope, Girls Hope now too. After you take IQ tests, because they don't just take anybody off the street, you had to get in, and was to meet with sister. And you know, I'd never met her, and I just, when I pictured nuns, I'd been in Catholic schools, early 80s, early grammar school, and the nuns were tough, man. I mean, almost ruler over knuckle tough. I mean, they were. So I'll picture a habit coming at me, and almost like you know, when the nuns float towards you in a horror movie, like what am I in for? And but I tell you what, we sat down and had that meeting, and and I won't cut your question off, but if you got another question, but the meeting went well. And the great thing about the meeting was it was the first time in a long time somebody with structure, just the way they talked to me, really cared about me. And something hit different there. And she said the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I could tell she cares for the kids. She cares about what she does. Obviously, this is her life, raising boys into men. But she told me at the end of the conversation, after I was a little tough, she said, well, you can accept me, and I'll love you, and I'll make sure your life is better. Trying not to tear up talking about that time, and I'll do everything in my power to not let you down. And or leaving the door can hit you in the ass. Choice is yours. And but the way she told me, and the way she looked at me, and the way I just felt it was sometimes a higher callings felt the little chills come over. Like, you know what? Started thinking I'm not really doing very well in life out here, and I want to wind up like my dad. So let's give this a shot.
Sister Frances.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So an angel on earth, rest her soul, but angel on earth.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
We don't treat cancer, or design breathtaking buildings, or slow cook the town's most talked about barbecue. That's all you. You're the ones who create and astonish, game and laugh, who come together and imagine a safer, more connected world. The things you do inspire us every day. So much so, it's right there in our name. Customer inspired. C-Spire. Inspired by you.
Between the blue sky and green grass, there's a Mississippi cattleman making sure the food you need is on your local grocery store shelves. Whether it's a big juicy steak or hamburgers for your backyard cookout, our food starts right here. Because for these cattlemen, it's not just a job, it's caring for the animals that make up our nation's food supply. Just one of the many commodities a Mississippi farmer grows for you, the farm families of Mississippi.
Hi, I'm Erica Bedwell, the Director of Rehab at Covington County Hospital. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services says you have a right to choose the swing bed program that's right for your loved ones. Our patients experience a comforting, supportive, and healing environment in large private rooms. Our swing bed staff is highly skilled and includes board-certified physicians, practitioners, and experienced nursing staff, all working alongside physical, occupational, and speech therapist staff to return your loved ones to the quality of life they deserve.
Meant so much to you. And I've done other interviews where folks have had, everybody's got a turning point. And I wonder how many times you've looked back at that moment that you just talked about. What if you had chosen to go out the door? How much different is your life? Have you ever thought about that? What if I chose not to take her help? What if I chose not to listen to her? What if I chose not to be a part of Boys Hope at the time? Have you ever thought about that?
Oh, all the time, and it gets me to thinking of other young people in rough situations. There's a lot out there, and I had a fork in the road, and I had to make a choice. And I know if I chose that fork over here, back to the old neighborhood, it wasn't going to end well. As I started, seeing things I shouldn't have been seeing, and crime, and it was just a tough way to be. And over here, I see this, an opportunity, and these kids playing sports, and I love sports. I do. I was a diehard football fan. There's diehard college football, NFL, and basketball, and I was like, maybe let's get back into sports. So sports was kind of the driving thing a little bit. I could compete again in sports. I did a lot of playground ball before I went to my grandma's, and just trying to impress my dad all the time, And but this could be an avenue for me. But the most beautiful thing about Boys Hope for me, I said the word hope, but there's another word here that's so key to me, and it breaks my heart when young people in tough situations don't have this in their life, and it's perspective. And my point is, I had a rough situation. If you look at it on the surface, mom suicide, dad died in prison before I'm 13 years old. But there were boys in that house, once I got started into there, where their parents didn't want them. They see them crying on the phone in person, just begging their mom and dad to come see them, and they wouldn't. And that put perspective on me pretty dang fast. Like, man, your situation's tough, but they're gone. Your parents are gone. You got to move on. Their situation's rough. I mean, parents that don't want you is the worst thing about for a young person in the world. And that put the past behind me pretty fast. And I had nights hugging, my brothers at the house and, crying with them, and I'm here for you, but it put perspective in my life that maybe I could be here for them. I wish young people had perspective in their life. Your situation, no matter how bad it is, there's hope. There is. Just keep fighting on.
That's so interesting to hear you have perspective that young. Look back and be able to have the maturity to have that perspective and say, although, what you had dealt with at this point was just, no one should ever have to deal with that. But you're still having perspective at this young age to look at it and say, my parents are gone, I'll see them again one day, but these kids have parents. I don't want to say it's more painful. Did it seem like it was more painful? This perspective you're talking about, to have parents for these kids they're still alive, and these kids can't have a relationship with their parents because the parents don't want them.
Yeah. And, one thing, I got a 20-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son, and I tell them I love you all the time. Grace and Max, incredible young people. I just say I love you daily, nonstop. And one thing made me thinking of how you asked that, which I hadn't thought of that really, but, my dad was loving. I mean, he said, loved you. He was a hugger. Squished me in these hugs. And, it was a loving environment, as rough as it was. And that's why he was my hero, is this here comes hugs. But I got told I love you may be enough. And to feel love. So as dark as my heart got, as aggressive, as angry at the world as I got, I still had maybe some emotions of love and empathy, which why I can't stress enough, just young people, parents, just say I love you, daily. It doesn't hurt. You really just triggered something that made me think. My dad told me he loved me all the time, proud of me, all that stuff.
I wondered, hearing you tell your story, and now hearing you say that, you had experienced love from both you knew your mom loved you, you knew your dad loved you, so you had experienced love, but then tragically, your parents are taken from you. These kids, where you're surrounded by, had apparently never experienced that kind of love. And I've often looked back at your story's so unique. If not for that love that you did experience with your parents, could you have had the life that you've had when you look back at it? Could things have started to look up had you not ever experienced love at all? Have you ever thought about it that way?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. And when you look at the journey of me, how I got to where I am today, and how certain things just fit me up with like a glove, and I was, very charismatic, I guess, as a young man. So a lot of that aggression turned into, not badness, but fun mischief. I was a fun guy. Kind of switched from being angry to just a little more mischievous. And I think enough people at, Boys Hope and Jesuit, the high school, the priest there, and the coaches and football along the way, they kicked me in the butt just enough, when I was kind of swaying from the path, that helped me along. So, but definitely Yeah, I just can't stress. Just show your emotions to your kids. Just show it.
There's a pivotal moment that happens in your relationship with Miss Sister Frances. You guys are on a retreat, and you basically ask her to fill this maternal role in your life. Basically, I want you to be my mom. What can you tell us about that story and how that unfolded?
Well, I'll build up to that. So, Sister and I, we had a rocky road relationship early on. I mean, I was raw, undisciplined, and what she was looking to be a fine, upstanding boy soap young man. And, but as highs and lows of the relationship, it was built with love, that's for sure. But the neatest thing happened along the way that solidified this isn't your normal nun. She's a cool nun. I mean, she was a sports fan, and she loved football. And I picked football back up, and I was aggressive, and the linebacker fit me like a T in 8th and 9th grade when I started there at Jesuit, and she'd see a big hit in a game, and she went to all the games, and she'd see one and want to talk about the hits, and so there was feel like on top of everything she's given me, making sure I don't fall off the path. Yeah, it got to be about my junior year, and I was feeling back on my way, fulfilled, seeing families in a good environment, the high school I was at, and seeing enough of that, and parents loving their kids. I mean, this is what I want to be. And, but, it felt a little hollow to me, and, no parents and nobody really in that role. I treated Sister definitely as much as I could as my mom, but, still the nun of the house. And so we were on a retreat one night at Boys Hope, get deeper in the faith, which we did once every 6 months or so. And we were there one night my junior year, and her and I just got off talking and one-on-one. And I don't know, it's sometimes like you think there is a higher calling. Something just came over me. Just ask her. And I asked her to be my mom, and she, yes. And this is one where I'm trying not to cry too much, but it's we must have cried all night, man. We hugged, and that was special. And but that was the moment I felt I could really let the baggage away and get on with my life. And I had Sister Frances. So
wonderful lady,
Oh.
without a doubt. And you talked about Jesuit high school. So how you ended up at Southern Miss is an interesting story. I really love this story. So there are folks from Southern Miss at Jesuit actually recruiting, if I remember right, a couple of your friends, or trying to recruit a couple of your friends. And they're like, wait a minute, this Kenny guy's pretty good at linebacker. So what's the story there?
Yeah, so we had two of my best friends in the world to this day, Boyd Kitchen and Chris Cole, wound up playing at Ole Miss. We still razz each other all the time. But they're my brothers. I mean, to this day, we talk all the time. But yeah, Boyd Kitchen was a big recruit, and he had several offers, and Ole Miss being one of them. And Southern Miss, was in the fray, and the recruiting guy, Everett Withers, who was a recruiting coach down there, moved on to real big things in college football. He caught wind of me and said, let me check out this Marchant Kenny guy. And so I sat with him, and back then, I was pretty flat. I wasn't the biggest recruit. When push came to shove, it wound up being Southern Miss and Texas Tech, who actually offered me from Division I. But Southern Miss had a reputation back then, defense, smash mouth. They were beating Auburn, Bama, made Ole Miss and State stop playing them not too long ago before that. Let's call it what it is. All these big wins. Favre, it was big, but the Heisman campaign stuff before that. And but it was, I was flattered. And he took a look at me, and Southern Miss seemed gritty. Seemed like a gritty, it's a tough guy. It's black and gold, the rock.
Fits you perfect.
It did. The dad I told you about, tough guy. And I'm like, but this could be cool. So, because people knew Southern Miss. They were on the map back then in college football, the giant killer, surrounded by Ole Miss, State, LSU, Bama, and this team fighting everybody, before there was, Troy, South Al, and we won Southern Miss.
Yeah, Coach Bauer was like, load the schedule up.
Yeah.
We'll play anybody.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
It's your front door. You decide who and what comes inside. Shouldn't it work the same with your doorway to the internet? That's why C Spire created Connect and Protect. So age-appropriate content comes into your home, and the rest stays out there. C Spire's new Connect and Protect plans, starting at just $30 a month. Get the best devices for your kids with free guided setup today. C Spire, inspired by you.
The fabric of any community is its people. It's the commitment to hard work and to be our best. It's where you know your neighbor by name. It's where family is important. At Covington County Hospital, we are your family and friends. That's why your healthcare is important to us. From emergency room visits to primary care to behavioral health, we want to make sure that healthcare is available when you need it. Covington County Hospital, where your healthcare matters.
Up before the dawn and home long after the sun sets. We pass this farm work ethic on to our children, too. They have their chores just like yours, but we also raise animals. Taking care of these animals helps them understand just how important what we do on this farm is for their future and Mississippi's.
Another way Mississippi farmers grow what's important to your life, the farm families of Mississippi.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
So you redshirt your 93 freshman season, and 94 you get on the field. Your first Division I action, if I remember the story right, you're in the Superdome against Tulane. Is that correct?
Yeah, great job right there. It's crazy, like some things like, is this a plan you got going on there, guy? I look at the schedule. First year I'm going to play, we open up in the Dome when Tulane played in the Dome, playing the Green Wave, and then the last game of the season's in Tiger Stadium against LSU. And Southern Miss fans may not have to hear this, who's watching this. I was a die-hard LSU guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, purple and gold, I bled it until I signed with Southern Miss. But I was like, are you kidding me? Look at the schedule.
Yeah, you get on the field against Tulane in that game, and that LSU game that you're talking about at the end of the season, that Coach Bauer has told me that he felt like that game, that moment, was really what kind of set in motion. First of all, I believe that was the game that set in motion the 14
straight winning seasons,
seasons. And he felt like that was kind of a turning point for the program. You guys go down there and you win, I think it was 20-18, somewhere in there. There's a field goal that won the game. He felt like that was a turning point for the program. And if I had to guess, it felt that way for you guys too, the players. You actually planted a flag on the iconic Eye of the Tiger at midfield with one of the Southern Miss flags. A little frustration taken out there, maybe?
It was literally the cheerleaders were all in the end zone celebrating the big win, and you know I'm out of my mind, happy we just beat LSU, and they didn't offer me. I'm like, all right. So before Baker Mayfield was doing the flag thing, you know, I did it at Tiger Stadium. There's a gritty picture of it before high def picture. You got to zoom in, but I'm there. You can see 43.
Man, before Baker Mayfield did it, I'm like, y'all don't know Marchant Kenny was doing that down at Tiger Stadium.
There you go.
That's brave to do that down there.
I lived in Baton Rouge area for a little bit too. I was always walking around with I didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's not really me. It's somebody that looks like me that played football here. No, it's not me. It's not me. So at Southern Miss, you found, we talk about Sister Francis, but I've heard you talk about finding two father figures here at Southern Miss, and Jeff Bauer, your head coach, and your defensive coordinator at the time, John Thompson. What role did they play in your life?
Oh, my goodness. First up, Sister Francis. I mean, the football and loving thing didn't stop. I mean, she came to Southern Miss and didn't miss a home game. Went to a lot of road games, and so she was a big part of that. She wound up being a celebrity as that story got out that a nun and son duo was going on here at the Rock. And but no, Coach Bauer laid the foundation pretty early. Mm-hmm. He he knew what I was up against, and my situation, and we knew I had a little fun, wild side a little bit, and which fit perfect for linebackers playing in the 93, 94 Nasty Bunch back in the 90s. But he told Sister, I got a letter to him, so proud of it, that he's going to be okay. We got him. And more or less words, and I had to make sure, though, because she was so important to me, that some kind of communication, but he did that early. And then sure enough, what the great thing about Coach Bauer, we talk all the time, and I still get starstruck talking about I'm like talking to Coach Bauer on the phone. And but as you know, in football, I mean, 100 players on a team or so, and a lot of type A personalities, a lot of different characters, highs and lows you got to deal with. And whenever I talked to Coach Bauer, he looked me in the eye, and it was almost, how's your day, when we weren't talking football or school or something. And that meant so much, because it was Coach Bauer talking to you, and you listened. And but he gave me the program he ran back then. It was just so fun. It was so special. And I've said it to so many guys that the games are great and everything, but man, I just miss the team. I miss the Van Hall, the dorm we lived in. I miss But Coach Bauer created all that. He let guys be guys when it was time to be guys. Yeah. But he loved you, and he talked to you one-on-one. As many people as he had to deal with, he talked to you one-on-one. And John Thompson, he was my defensive coordinator, linebacker coach. I mean, we were always together, it felt like, and sometimes hung over on Sundays after a game, watching film with him, trying to talk him into, hey, I got a tackle on that play. He's like, oh, you smell like booze. Really? What'd you do last night? Well, it was college. And but no, John Thompson, I mean, oh goodness, did he love me. I mean, I felt like I had a father figure. Absolutely had a father figure. Just like Coach Bauer, he knew my situation, talked to me man to man. He knew how to. He's a guy really to get me going, and he knew how to get to me and get me going. And but all that over time, and we had a special bond, and and Coach Bauer created all that. And but John Thompson was one of the greatest defensive minds back at that time. I mean, he was in all of college football.
We talk about Coach Bauer, kind of piggybacking off, talking about what he meant to you. What a resilient man, and just a person of dedication and resilience. 1997, you guys are having a remarkable season, but Coach Bauer's daughter, Kristen, she's involved in an auto accident that takes her life. And I've heard you specifically talk about Coach Bauer's resilience, his commitment to the team, and he's told us, hey, look, he told his wife, I got to get back. And he got back to the team, and he's talked about the structure of football, having guys like you come up and hug him and pat him on the backside. Hey, Coach, we got you. We love you. He's talked about how he didn't know if he would have gotten through that without you guys, the football program, the team, the players. He said, I don't know how I would have gotten through it without the players. How would you describe those moments, those days as a player, and really just kind of dealing with Kristen was like a little sister?
Oh, absolutely. And, we have a great team heading into that year. I mean, the top team Conference USA, first two games we opened up at national defending champ Florida, and then had a little offense. We'd have beat them, but and then smash Illinois the next week. I'm like, we're pretty good, so we'll be all right. So we're building up to the Nevada first home game of the season. In building up to that, we got some just unbelievably tragic news that Coach Bauer's daughter Kristen had passed away in a car accident, and it rocked us because Kristen was always around. I mean, Debbie, Coach Bauer's wife, and it was a family thing to me. But I'm my fifth year after my redshirt year at that point. I mean, these people like family to me, and as much as I was rocked, I mean, we all thought about Coach Bauer immediately. And I've said it so many times, they can't build a statue big enough for Coach Bauer here. He still coached us in that game, in that Nevada game, and he was still around. And I remember then, I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's staying so strong. And I know he's suffering. You could see it. But he was there for us. And I'm young at that point, and we're just all doing everything we can to play hard for Coach now, especially. And but years later, you find out how much we meant to him at that time. And he's told me, it was a wow factor. Coach Bauer's a strong, tough guy. You don't mess with Coach Bauer, but when he gets a little emotion out and then told me that he needed us badly at that point. And you have no idea the hugs, the talks that just got me through, and just made me feel somewhat normal. And with the most devastating news you could deal with, and for him to still coach us and still go on, because I have a 20-year-old daughter, and oh my goodness, I couldn't function. I just don't know. But to realize like how much we meant to him at that point, oh goodness gracious! I mean, and he still coaches. I mean, they build a statue for the man. I know it's a building, but build a statue for the man on campus.
I know somebody that could do the statue. Dr. Sessoms, if you're watching,
there you go.
Hey, here's your chance. Reach out to Southern Miss. We need a statue here.
There you go.
You finish up at Southern Miss as one of the most popular and beloved players in Golden Eagle uniform. Opponents were glad to see you leave, though. So here's how you finish your career. 406 tackles, 46 tackles for loss, 7 quarterback sacks, 3 interceptions. You were named first team All-Conference USA in 96 and 97. Opponents were glad to see you go, Marchant. So for the kid who grew up with all the stuff you had to deal with, all the tragedy, all the angst, all the things, all the emotions that rightfully you were dealing with, and now you fast forward, you're one of the more accomplished players in Southern Miss history. What comes to your mind when you hear all that now?
Well, it's why to this day I say why Southern Miss means so much to me. I mean, it hit different for me a little bit. People knew my situation, and the story was well publicized by the time I was out. I mean, every newspaper back then, when the newspapers were out, it was on the cover, and it was a big deal. Sister was a bigger celebrity than me, I promise. People couldn't wait to get to see Sister Francis in town, and but all that stuff happened in the meantime. The fans were just, oh my goodness. My favorite moment is the Liberty Bowl. Favorite just a moment. It was a hype 'em up guy, rah-rah guy. It was just me, and coming out team captain, and I've said this before, if I could sell this energy, this positive energy, I'd be a millionaire. When I came out as team captain before the Liberty Bowl pregame, I went to the fans and just rah like this, and we had about 25,000 there, and this energy, me, and I'm like, it was just like, and then we smashed Pitt, but it's just a culmination of just some unbelievable times with fans, coaches who wouldn't let me falter, the love shown for Sister Francis by everybody, my teammates, unbelievable, do anything for my teammates. It was just a special time, and then football means a little bit more to me because I really wasn't good enough to play basketball, I wasn't good enough to play tennis, golf, whatever, baseball, definitely not baseball. But I could tackle people, and that tackle and that aggression, it gave me a channel to get this stuff out of me, and it put me in the right place, just the perfect place of Southern Miss. They say grit to this day. I felt that was pretty gritty, and Southern Miss was a glove. It fit me perfect, man.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
It has often been said that home is where the heart is. It's where hard-working and dedicated people form the fabric of a thriving community. At Covington County Hospital, it's our priority to help keep our community safe, healthy, and moving. With our primary care clinics and services, we are working to keep you healthy. Because home is where the heart is. Home is where family matters. Covington County Hospital, where your health care matters.
We don't treat cancer, or design breathtaking buildings, or slow cook the town's most talked about barbecue. That's all you. You're the ones who create and astonish, game and laugh, who come together and imagine a safer, more connected world. The things you do inspire us every day, so much so, it's right there in our name. Customer inspired. C-Spire, inspired by you.
Harvested in June and July, Mississippi-grown sweet corn arrives just in time for your cookout or outdoor get-together. But you better be quick. Once Mississippi-grown sweet corn appears on your local farmers market shelves, it disappears just as fast. There are so many ways to cook and eat Mississippi-grown sweet corn, but of course our favorite is corn on the cob.
Sweet corn, just one of the many foods the Mississippi farmer grows for you, the farm families of Mississippi.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
Who was the hardest person to tackle when you were at Southern Miss? Do you remember?
Yo, do I remember? I'm lucky I do remember. It's Harold Shaw. I mean, the train. There was a reason his nickname was the train. And funny story with that. So, you know, we do individual drills at practice, and they team up the linebackers versus the running backs. We get in these lines, linebackers here, you know, one behind the other, running backs there. And, you know, every time I'm in that line, I'm counting. I'm like, oh, crap. I'm next guy up, tackle, next guy up. I'm teamed up with Harold Shaw. Buckle up the strap, tighten it up laces. I mean, hitting Harold was like hitting his wall. He was everything. The train. So, and great guy, great teammate. To this day, we talk all the time. I love Harold. Harold's awesome.
One of the greats. You're not kidding. Yeah, it was like tackling a brick wall. If you had to line up against Harold Shaw, you better be ready.
Yeah.
You talked about Sister Frances. Did I hear this right? She never missed a home game?
Never missed a home game. You know, New Orleans isn't that far away. It's about an hour and a half, and I didn't expect her to make them all, but she made them all. And it made some great stories, and there's so many to tell. But one thing I do love, if you don't mind, kind of comedy story with Sister Frances. So she sat with the families right behind the bench. And, you know, let's call it what it is. In Louisiana, there's a lot of Catholics. There is, you know, over here, Mississippi, more Baptist. So so Sister Frances would be in the stand, sitting with the fans, about 5 rows up from where the team came to the bench. And, you know, game would get tight in the fourth quarter, something at the Rock. And then, you know, Sister Frances prayed to St. Jude pretty consistent. And the kind of saint of hopeless causes kind of help you out. And so it got to be over time, you know, Sister Frances late in the fourth quarter, come on, St. Jude. Well, all these Baptists, come on, St. Jude. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. This is awesome. You know, so, but everybody just loves Sister.
Yeah.
You know, one of the times religion didn't matter. It's Sister Frances. We love her. Come on, St. Jude.
Oh, man. I love how we've got these things in football where we'll try anything.
Yeah.
Rally hats. So look, hey, if it's going to help us get a win, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
Heck yeah.
So you spent some time after Southern Miss. You did spend some time with Arizona Cardinals, that organization, for a little bit. And then they sent you over to NFL Europe, and you spent some time there over in Scotland. I bet that was interesting.
Yeah.
But it came a time like every player, every coach, everyone has to make that decision if you're in athletics at some point when you're gonna hang up the whistle or hang up the cleats or sneakers or whatever it is. When that moment came, I've heard you talk about it, about you didn't want to take the pads off. It took you a while to take them off. Take me back to that moment, standing there on that field in Amsterdam and reflecting on what football had meant to you. What was going through your mind at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, the story, a big part of it is football. And this young, unruly kid, I had this perfect avenue to get it out of my system. And, you know, coaches who loved me along the way, teammates. Football was bigger than life almost to me. It got me on my way, got me right. But, yeah, I'm in NFL Europe. This is, you know, missed a couple years during my childhood, but since 6 years old, played football. So I'm 25 at that time, right around that time. It was 19 years of my life. It's football in a way, and I love football. I adored the game, and I've told somebody this, and I'll get to the story itself, but I remember talking to a basketball guy one time who played at Southern Miss. I said, man, you're so lucky. You can just get 5-on-5 games whenever you want. When football, it's over, it's over.
That's a good point.
I can never get 22 guys to strap it up late. We could try, but it probably won't happen. And it's over. Tackle football when it's over. And so there I am, my last game in NFL Europe in Amsterdam. Game's over, clock ticks. We weren't going to make the playoffs. And I'm looking up as I walk off the field. I just turned and looked, and I'm like, I'm in Amsterdam, and it's over. And the place was leaving, emptying the fans, and it was a big. I can picture myself right there. It was a surreal moment, and just in Europe, and it's over. It's like, wow. And thankful for the game of football. But when I got to the locker room, I'm sure I was the last guy to take the pads off. It was just hard. This is it. They were part of me. It felt like it felt normal to have pads on. And so yeah, that was a tough time. And it's a real thing. I get former football players when it's over, depression hits. I get it. I mean, I'd give you a story of some 25,000. People cheering you on when you hit somebody. It's over. It's it. So you have to adjust to life and business and get along your way. So I didn't get really depressed about it. I was sad, but it was a surreal moment. It's over in Europe. Wow.
I told you when you walked in, and told Matthew too, I said, man, you could still play. And
man.
You said, man, I feel, look, if I could have one more snap, the NCAA, they're getting creative with some of these rules. Maybe there's hope down the line, right?
I'll tell you one thing I would have done, though. I'd have been the NIL guy. I told you, hair commercials, selling shampoo, toothpaste, whatever. You need me, I'm your guy. I'll be on every commercial around town. You need me?
You would have racked up in NIL. I was going to ask you, what would have been the NIL partnership? And apparently, anything. Right?
I told Coach Bauer that. He asked me how much you think you would be worth. I'm like, Coach, I mean, you got to figure. One of my senior year, I was heading into that year, I was the publicized guy. And maybe 6 figures I'd asked for, and I'd have joked about leaving.
I could see maybe 6 figures.
I wouldn't have left. Coach Bauer would have kicked my butt if I'd have left.
No, there was no way you were leaving Southern Miss. No, I could see you at 6 figures.
That's what I'm saying. I played at the wrong time. Man.
I mean,
I played at a time you couldn't have a job.
Right.
NCAA. You can have a scholarship player, couldn't have a job.
Well, I mean, former sportscaster at WDAM, right? And we're working sales now, correct? So, yeah, you'd have racked up.
I'm about to talk to John Cox every now and then. I asked him, I was like, who's your favorite interviewer? And he goes, well, you were one of them. I mean, put a mic in front of you and you start talking. I said, yeah, NIL money too, commercials, man. Just give me a mic. I'll sell it.
I would have loved to have seen you in the NIL era, man. I would have loved to have seen that. So your story, I told you, it is so inspiring.
I appreciate it.
And it gives people hope. I'll be honest, I had to grab tissue a couple times watching it. I really did. How do you hope to inspire others and give them hope through your story?
Well, I said some things, any parents especially watching this, and you even lightbulbed me in this interview. I mean, just tell your kids you love them every day, and you just make them know that they're good enough. Just every day, and any young people out there, life's got you down. Something's really, I can't get over this. Like just perspective. Do whatever you can. Settle down. Breathe. Perspective. It's gonna be okay. Think of somebody else's situation maybe. And a lot of times it's worse than yours, just perspective. My grandma actually taught me something that I use to this day. I tell my kids, it's so old, but it's such a wise saying, this too shall pass. To me, I say it all the time, when business is cramming me or something, I'm like, this too, my grandma's in my head, this too shall pass.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
We don't treat cancer, or design breathtaking buildings, or slow cook the town's most talked about barbecue. That's all you. You're the ones who create and astonish, game and laugh. who come together and imagine a safer, more connected world. The things you do inspire us every day. So much so, it's right there in our name. Customer inspired. C-Spire. Inspired by you.
Between the blue sky and green grass, there's a Mississippi cattleman making sure the food you need is on your local grocery store shelves. Whether it's a big juicy steak or hamburgers for your backyard cookout, our food starts right here. Because for these cattlemen, it's not just a job, it's caring for the animals that make up our nation's food supply. Just one of the many commodities a Mississippi farmer grows for you, the farm families of Mississippi.
Hi, I'm Erica Bedwell, the Director of Rehab at Covington County Hospital. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services says you have a right to choose the swing bed program that's right for your loved ones. Our patients experience a comforting, supportive, and healing environment in large private rooms. Our swing bed staff is highly skilled and includes board-certified physicians, practitioners, and experienced nursing staff, all working alongside physical, occupational, and speech therapist staff to return your loved ones to the quality of life they deserve.
I've thought of your story too. I had someone tell me this a long time ago about prayers. And they said, you know, you have no idea who prayed for you before you were even born. You have no idea. And though those people may have passed on before you ever got to meet them, their prayers last forever. I thought, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I look at you, somebody was praying for you, man.
I don't know. That's why I say there's got to be a higher calling, because three major steps of the way, you know, when I was falling apart at my grandma's, the Howard stepped in. Mm-hmm. You're going to Boys Hope. Mm-hmm. they were a very Christian, prayerful family. Mm-hmm. You know, I needed a father figure after Boys Hope. I found the perfect head coach and defensive coordinator to fill that role. You know, and another guy too, which is kind of great, and I'm so happy these guys at the Southern Miss football team have him, is Mitch Williams, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes director for the area and the team chaplain for Southern Miss. They got Mitch when Tom, you know, he just dealt with some tragedy, you know, with MJ Daniels passing, but they got Mitch. Well, I had Mitch right after football, so I came off of Amsterdam, like, what do I do now? Mitch is like, man, why don't you come be a sportscaster, Marchant? You got the personnel. I said, all right, that sounds great. And I do want to brag about Mitch real quick. We worked in this little cubicle at WDAM TV. I was the second sports guy. He was the sports director. And worked this little office, a little bit about me to you. It was Mitch every day. But Mitch was a sports director, but dang it, he was a preacher. And when he felt the spirit, you're going to feel the spirit too. He blasts that music, some Christian music, and I jam out with Mitch. But I had Mitch, and I told Mitch I love him, just like Coach Bauer. I mean, Mitch was my third figure along the way to teach me life lessons. He told me one time too, which was great. I wanted to be on ESPN one day. It didn't come to fruition, but he said, Marchant, look at those guys on ESPN. What do you see? Man, a lot of them got rings on their fingers, man. You know, they got somebody solid at the house. Or if it ain't a wife, they got something solid going on. You need something solid, you know. And he told me about just having solidarity in your life. And man, 3 years at WDM with Mitch Williams guiding the way, oh my goodness. When I said goodbye to him, I needed to make a little bit more money and go to a sales job. When I said goodbye to him, I cried harder than I cried when my father passed away. I couldn't let go. He's crying. I'm like, I didn't realize I'm leaving you. I guess it just hit me. And but yeah, so I had the prayers of Mitch, you know, prayers. Coach Bauer prays, Southern Miss people praying maybe, and but the Howard family too starting it all off. So yeah, prayers are along the way. There's no doubt about it.
Had a lot of people praying for you, still praying for you. So let's switch it up a little bit. You're such a fun guy. I mean, I think the first time we talked on the phone, we talked forever.
We talked for about 2 hours.
Was it 2 hours?
I was honored talking to you. I've said you do the best job with these shows in Mississippi. When I was doing my little show, man, I'm like, I took a lot from you when you interviewed Reggie and Sammy. I was like, I took a lot from you, man.
It means a lot coming from you. I want to tell you that. But, you're it's easy to talk to you. That's probably why we ate up the amount of time that we did.
My wife was like,
yeah.
I was like, but it's Jason.
I was like, Miss Angela's about ready for you to go. I need to let you go. I don't want to hold y'all guys up any longer. But yeah, I mean, you're such a fun guy. So what do you do when you just want to, I don't know, hang out and just kind of chill out and kind of wind down a little bit?
Well, I mean, I'm proud of being a good dad, the best dad I can be, and I invest a lot of time into my 2 kids. My daughter's about to head off to Orlando for her future. She's going to be part of Disney World, the college program there. So proud of her. And my son, Max, he's a track guy, runs the hurdles now. I'm like, a hurdler, right? And but I invest a lot of time with him, and all you dads out there, I feel the clock ticking. He's 18's coming up, and he's 15, and I spend a lot of time with him and say, there's gonna be some times from here to 18 you're not gonna like me. Well, my job's not to like you, it's to raise you into man. When you're 18, I walk out that door, wherever we go, wherever you go, and I can feel confident you go in a room and you can handle that room. So that's my job right now. I love you, obviously to death, but a lot of time with the family, and I've got an unbelievable wife, Angela. Jeez, we're talking about a rock. Because she deals with me. I mean, just high energy, high spirit. God bless her. She may need to call you just, Jace, help me. So, God bless her. She is my rock. And we spend a lot of time together. It's almost like I don't hang out a lot with people. I love hanging out with my wife. We're best buds, and literally. But a side hobby, what's funny is it fits me to a T. I'm big on social media. I just love social media stuff. And I love 80s and 90s entertainment. Always loved it. Music, entertainment, what have you. And I started this Instagram page. And sure enough, it's blown up to 1.3 million followers.
Whoa.
And I mean, like, big names of followers. Like, look who just followed me, stuff like this. So I got a hobby of that, putting out 80s music clips of the 90s. It fits me to a T. Some people may not understand it, but I'm a goofball. And like I said, God bless my wife, Angela.
I love Miss Angela. She's great.
I don't have a lot of hobbies. That turned into my hobby. I don't golf anyway.
You guys trip me out on social media. I mean, you do. I mean, I follow you guys on social media, and you guys have a lot of fun. Yeah, y'all have a lot of fun.
We do, and too much fun though. Because it'll be 6 a.m. and I'm ready to talk about this new offense that Chip Long's got, and she's like, if you talk about Southern Miss at 6 a.m. Because I just pop up, I'm out of bed, coffee. I'm like, all right, I'll go back in here. The offense, though, we can't talk about it right now.
That's a perfect segue into my next question. So let's say, I love asking this question because I get just a variety of answers. So if we were to hop in your vehicle or mine and we head to your favorite spot to dine in Hattiesburg, which is where? Do you have a favorite spot?
Oh, my goodness. I can't be biased here. There's so many.
There's a lot.
Do I have to pick one?
You can pick 2. How about 2?
All right. I mean, nothing. There's a lot of good places.
Sure.
So let me do 3, because the sit-down place, I do love Crescent City Grill. I love it. I always loved it from back in the day. But we're very casual people when we go eat. And, 4th Street Bar, got some great burgers, onion rings, and then Ed's is a full fun place, kind of too. And the Hattiesburg is downtown. I mean, you said one. This is a typical answer from me on my brain. What this? This is a lot of places.
There's a lot to choose from here. So what are we listening to on the way? What do we listen to? We listen to a playlist? We listen to 80s music?
Well, I got to ask permission from my wife to play 80s music, because she's like, if I hear Duran Duran one more time.
Oh, good choice.
Great choice.
Good choice.
But, she loves some of the 80s music. She loves her country music.
Oh, yeah.
And trust me, happy wife, happy life. So whatever you want to play on this ride. And but if I had a playlist, it's going to be 80s. It's going to be like 80s, kind of the popular songs that you knew, the 90s popular songs. I mean, my wife and I joke, when you were, and I like Guns N' Roses. We joked the other day, but I said, Angela,
you're earning a lot of points with me right now.
Yeah. But the thing is, we joke, Angela, you know, while you were probably jamming out the Guns N' Roses, which I was too, I was also putting, you know, probably a little, you know, Simple Minds on, a little expose, the Cover Girls. I mean, she laughs. She's like, you're kind of like that 80s teenage girl trapped inside of you sometimes. You know? I mean, I'll rock out, but, you know.
You got to have a good variety. You got to have a good mix. That's what it is.
See, she's, but it's whatever she wants to play.
Exactly. Exactly. Shout out to Miss Angela, by the way. Look, this is an absolute privilege to sit down with you. And I hope this tells your story in a way that you're proud of, that Miss Angela and your family and your friends are proud of. Part 2's coming down the road. I can't wait till part 2. You're an inspiration, man. Just keep shining your light, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. You keep shining your light too, man. Like I said, when Jason Scarborough called me to be on the show, I'm like, man, I'm important maybe. Something's going on here. So, but thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. It's good to see you, man.
Always.
I hope to see you again.
Always good to see you. Till the next 2-hour conversation.
Absolutely, man. It's coming soon, isn't it?
Let's do it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, dude. One more play, man.
The NCAA has gotten real creative lately. I'm just saying.
Oh, that NIL. I've joked with Coach Barr before, man. I would have been selling hair products. So what do you need? Yeah, mechanic work, whatever you need. I'm your guy.
Thanks for doing this, Marchant.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's an honor.
All right, 3, 2, and 1.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode of Audibles with Jason Scarborough.